Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rise Up and Share Your Medicine podcast. This is episode 137. I'm so delighted to be here with you. And today we're going to talk about crossing the threshold. And I'm really so happy to be sharing this because I realize that so many of you, so many of us are standing on this sacred threshold, this sacred gateway between where you were, currently are, and between where you want to be. And I haven't done a podcast episode about this, and it's such an important thing. So the reason I'm doing this episode is to help you, first of all, identify when you're at that point. When you're at this point of you're on the verge of stepping through into this new identity. So one, to help you identify it, and to also help you identify what are the common pitfalls, the common mistakes, the common thought errors that happen when you're at this point. And also to really help you reframe this and understand that it's a sacred invitation. Nothing has gone wrong. You're not going backwards. You're actually about to move into this next level. So, and the last thing is I also want you to identify the 3 phases of a threshold. Like, what are those 3 phases? And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're new to my work, I'm a spiritual career coach, and I help my clients, I help helpers, whether you're a wellness professional or in any other field, but you are here to be a change maker, you're a visionary, you're here to elevate the world. You have always had this longing, in a way, it's been very easy for you to be someone who helps. It's like you do it naturally. Now, helpers have a very divine assignment, and there's also all of these obstacles, internal obstacles that come from thought errors and old programming in the world about what it means to be a helper. And so that's what I coach my clients on. It's like, how can you answer the calling, share your gifts with the most authenticity, and do it in a way that doesn't lead to burnout. So these podcast episodes are like me distilling 15 years of wisdom, of experience to help you to create a mini transformation in each episode. All right, so I've got my notes here because, as I've shared before, with these podcast episodes, unlike my Instagram lives, where it can be more kind of like organic and natural, and I'm taking a walk and let me share this wisdom with you. With these, I really want to anchor in like very thought out teachings to help you move forward. Okay, so let me review again. What is a threshold? A threshold, you can think of it as this portal, this gateway. It's the pivot point between where you were and where you want to be. And so this can be, for example, perhaps you have been holding back, right? There's been more medicine, more gifts, more of your presence that you're here to share with the world, but you've been holding back. And on the other side of the threshold is you sharing more of your gifts, whether you're going to be sharing a book, a new healing modality, showing up more on social media, showing up more in in-person events, whatever it is, right? There's the before and there's the after. It could look like you've been serving a certain type of clientele, right? Maybe for many years you've been serving a certain group of clientele, but your soul is guiding you to the next expansion, either a completely different clientele or just a refinement of who you've been working with, right? And so for example, I remember when I first started back in 2009, I didn't have any specific niche, I just was like, I'm helping whoever comes to me. And that was lovely and beautiful. I needed that experience that actually helped me get clear on who I was here to help. And then at some point, it became really clear that, I'm here to help helpers. Like, it was so interesting. Even though I hadn't marketed that way, I started getting a lot of therapists as clients, nurses as clients, former teachers as clients. And it became really clear to me, like, that's who I'm here to serve. So that was me. So for you, maybe the details are different, but you're like, oh, you're moving from serving a certain type of people to another type of people. Or maybe for you, it's a whole different modality. Maybe you used to help people in a certain way, right? Maybe you, for example, I've had a lot of clients who perhaps were more of a traditional therapist, right? Doing, and that was wonderful for a long time. And then they're being guided to bring in mindfulness or alternative healing or shift into more of a coach rather than a therapist, whatever it is, right? Those are just some examples, but they could be very different for you. And I want you to understand that it can also be very internal, that maybe for you it's, and I don't want to say just like it's a little thing, but maybe for you it's about stepping into this more confident, joyful, self-assured version of yourself. Okay? So that's a threshold. Now, these thresholds, I want you to understand they're sacred invitations, they're initiations into this next level. And that each one, what I've noticed in these last 15 years, first and foremost from my own self, like seeing, because a threshold is a rebirth. There's some aspect of you that is dying, and there's a new resurrection, a rebirth into a new way of being. And I've gone through many of those death and rebirth cycles, really my whole life, but consciously these last 15 years for sure. And then in helping my clients over the last 15 years, I've noticed like, okay, this is the roadmap. These are certain things that everyone goes through. It will look different for you, the specific details, but it's so powerful to understand, like to have a map, right? Of like, oh, because when you do, then you can avoid the common mistakes that happen. And what happens when you fall into these mistakes, into these thought errors, and there's no judgment, it's just, it happens because we're not taught these things. It can keep you stuck longer in the before, longer than necessary. Now, I want to be clear, you can't rush this. So this isn't about rushing through it. There is a divine timing, but it is about getting clear on like, oh, this is the phase I'm in. Oh, this is the common mistakes that happens here. Oh, this is how I can shift and navigate this with more power, with more grace, with more sovereignty. Okay? So the first phase. The first phase is, I call it echoes from the past. Echoes from the past start to show up. And what can this look like? It can literally look like people that you haven't talked to in the last year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years suddenly appear in your life. You're just like, where did this person come from? Right? And depending on what threshold you're crossing, it can be very dramatic or it can be very subtle, but enough that you notice it. Like, wow, I haven't seen this person in the last decade. Now they're here. They might come back and have an invitation for you. Oh, I'd like to hang out. Let's go have tea. Or, oh, I have this opportunity. I'd love you to co-teach it with me. Or, oh, I have this event. I'd love you for you to join. I'm having this sacred gathering. And what will be interesting about this invitation is that in the past, you might have jumped at the chance. It might have been like, oh my gosh, absolutely, yes, this is what I'm meant to do. But now you receive it and you recognize like, wait, I've outgrown this. I've outgrown this. This isn't a fit, but there's still a pull, right? Because you're like, oh, this is, maybe this is somebody who is very important in their field, or maybe this is somebody that you used to just be really close to in the past, or this is somebody that's connected to a desire you had in the past. Like a long time ago, you were like, oh my gosh, I so wanted this before. And so there's a little bit of that pull, and you might have this confusion of like, am I supposed to do this? Is this coming back because now this is coming back because now is the right time? So this is like, so this is one example. Let me give you a couple more examples. That's one example, right? It's like, another example could be, let's say you're about to invest in yourself, right? You're going to invest in a training or in getting professional support and help, or investing in a healing center you're going to begin, or whatever it is. And then suddenly an unexpected expense comes. And it's like, and so then suddenly you're like, well, maybe I'm not supposed to invest. Maybe this is a sign from the universe that I'm not supposed to move forward. But this is the truth. These things come because they are, in a way, they're a test. And they're not a test from God, from anyone else. They're a test from your own soul, right? That's like wanting to make sure that it's like that you are really committed to this. Because, for example, in the first example, if it's an invitation from someone in your past, the test is you being able to say, you know what, thank you, but no thanks. And you don't have to say to the person any details about this. You might just very gracefully say, thank you, I so appreciate it, I just don't have time. Or maybe whatever you decide to say. Or maybe it's even appropriate to just not even respond, right? But it's like you recognize, no, this is the past trying to hook me back in. And I'm like, nope, I am focused on my vision. Or if it's like the example I gave with finances, that you're like, no, I know that in the past I would have let this derail me and convince me that, oh, I'm not supposed to do this, but absolutely, I know I'm committed to this. I know that I'm meant to invest in this support, in this help, in whatever it is. So I'm going to keep saying yes. Okay, so that's the first phase, echoes from the past that come back. Okay. Then the second phase that can happen is what I call the stillness before the crossing. And now, depending on where you're at, you might not go through all these through the first two. Maybe you'll just go through this one or through the one and through number one. But often we go through versions of both of these. So stillness before the crossing is there's just stillness. It's like crickets. It can seem like nothing is happening. So maybe you're trying to attract new clients and nobody's coming. Maybe you're trying to have new opportunities, new partnerships, and nothing is happening. It's like silent. And this is actually one of the hardest parts, because what can happen, the common thought error is that we think we've made a mistake, or we're going backwards, or we need to hustle, or we need to work harder. But this is the stillness, this sacred moment, this sacred time is where you're refining, or you're getting clear. And maybe it's a physical illness, for example, and a physical ailment, or some sort of like, what is it called? Like oh my gosh, this happens especially when we have autoimmune things, which a lot of my clients have. I have a lot of autoimmune issues, a flare up. It can show up as a flare up where suddenly you have to really slow down. Your physical body is literally like, I can't move fast. And this stillness, again, it's refining. It's like things will come up, maybe unfinished business that your soul wants you to look at. It's just really the thought error, the common mistake that we can do during this time is get really impatient and sabotage it by agreeing to something. So, for example, it's crickets, nothing is happening, and your brain gets so impatient that suddenly you're like, I'm gonna go volunteer for this thing. Let me go do this and get really busy. Or I'm gonna like rush into this training because that'll be doing something that's gonna help bring these opportunities to me. And it's like, no, this is the time to stay steady and stay in this stillness and remind yourself that nothing has gone wrong. This is just the stillness before the crossing. This is time for me to breathe, to be here. This is sacred time to refine. It's really important, precious time. So we have phase one, echoes from the past that come visiting. Phase two is the stillness before the crossing. And then this is what's really interesting. Phase three is the other side. You're on the other side, but this is what's so interesting is like, we think it's going to be this like big dramatic event. And sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time it looks like, you've gone through phase one and phase two and you've surrendered. Not given up, not settled, but surrendered. You're like, okay, I know there's a divine timing. And often this is the place where we really need support, where we really, we have our coach, we have our therapist, we have our support group, whatever it is. And you're in that, living your life. And then some magical opportunity shows up. Suddenly, a new client shows up, just the exact type of client that you've been looking for. And it appears as if they showed up out of nowhere. You weren't even trying, and there they are. Or suddenly, this illness or this ailment that you've been working through so patiently, suddenly you feel better. Like you suddenly have more energy. Or suddenly, the pain you had is gone. It's kind of like, well, how did that happen? Or maybe you've been looking for new opportunities. I'll give you an example. I know I keep talking about this yoga class, but this yoga class has been such a gift. But I've been looking for a yoga studio, yoga class for the last several months. I had one that I loved, but the schedule just didn't work, especially when, my husband Greg was going through cancer treatment, and there was just a lot that was just that shifted in my schedule, and those hours didn't work. And so I was like, I looked there was another place, like everywhere I went that there was new yoga studios, it just didn't work. And I was like, okay. And I went through that, like, it's crickets, nothing's working. Am I doing something wrong? Am I sabotaging this? But every time I checked in, I was like, this just isn't the right place. And I just had to trust, like, okay, if I'm meant to do yoga, it's going to come. And I would do some at home. And then 2 weeks ago, I'm walking back from this place that I love, where I get, they have a lot of gluten-free and dairy-free things, and it's just a wonderful place. So I'm walking back, and I just happened to look up to my right, and I'm like, does that say yoga across the street? And I walk this path all the time, but I'd never looked up in that direction, like towards my right. And I was like, I think that says yoga. Did not notice this yoga studio. Walked home, forgot what the name of the yoga studio was, so I couldn't look it up. 2 days later, walked again, wrote down the name, suddenly saw there was like a sound healing class on a day that I usually couldn't go, but clients had happened to reschedule, so I had that opening. I went to it, loved it. It's like within like 4 days, I suddenly had found a studio and had started a whole new, type of yoga practice. And so it was one of those things where, like, once I started, it was, I think, the third day in, I was like, oh my gosh, the yoga class showed up in a yoga studio that I really like, really close to my house, that checks boxes that I didn't even know I wanted to check off. And so you see how that happened. It wasn't like, for me, like struggling to go find it. It's suddenly I was there. And I've seen that with clients, for example, with relocations. Like maybe they've been looking for a long time for the perfect house. They know that they're meant to move, and it just doesn't happen. And then suddenly it's like, well, I was talking to this one person, and then they showed me this house, and now we're looking there. Now we made an offer, and now we're moving, right? It just happens so quickly. That's how the other side feels. It's this like, it's not this like dramatic thing. It kind of feels like suddenly you're in the new life. Right? This happened when we were relocating to Mexico. Like, we didn't know we were relocating to Mexico. I was born and raised in Chicago. My parents are Mexican. Mexico, of course, was a very special place to me. Greg and I had kind of fantasized about it, but not really seriously. At least me, I had not really seriously considered it, because I was like, no, I can't be that far away from my kids, from our kids. But then suddenly all these things we did not expect to happen had happened. Still not considering Mexico, still considering maybe New Mexico, maybe North Carolina, all these things. And then suddenly I read this article about the city in Mexico that I'd never gone to. I read that article and was like, gosh, that feels like maybe it's the place. I had a week where I wasn't seeing clients. I found a flight. I came here by myself. It was like, again, it was this it just almost seems like it happens without your control. But what has happened is actually you've gone through phase 1 and phase 2, and now you're like crossing the threshold. Now, what is the risk? What is the thought error, the common pitfalls and mistakes that happen at this time? These are it. Listen very carefully, because it's very important. we can sabotage it because it feels too good to be true. So it could be like, well, I got this new client. That's great. But she came out of nowhere. Like, there's no way I can get more clients like that. That was just like a weird thing that happened. That was a coincidence. Right? Or, for example, with the house example, you go see the house and it's perfect, but you're like, oh, this is too good to be true. Probably something bad's going to happen. Like, no, it's like it all comes back to like self-worth, right? That it's like, and even with the yoga class, it almost happened to me because even though I was so excited and I was so amazed, and Greg gave me unlimited yoga for a month so I could try it out. And I loved it the first day and I loved it the second day. And then the third day I went into total comparison. It's like, my brain was offering me thoughts like, I don't really belong here. Like, look at all these people. They're so ahead of me. I've never done this type of yoga. Oh my gosh, it's going to take me forever to catch up to them. I mean, it was going through the whole sabotaging. And I could have allowed that to happen instead of recognizing, oh my gosh, I crossed that threshold. I'm in this whole other level, right? And so notice that, right? That is such a thing that can happen because we think we're not ready. But I want to tell you something. If the opportunity came, it's because your soul knows you're ready. So this is the point where you want to really anchor into gratitude, right? Because then when I caught my brain doing that, I was like, wait a minute. I'm so grateful that I found this place. I'm so grateful that I can get here in 15 to 20-minute walk. I am so grateful that all these people are ahead of me and I just get to enjoy it. I'm so grateful that I get to walk back. I'm so grateful that I live in Mexico and I don't have to worry about a snowstorm coming, that I can actually 99% of the time walk there and walk back like every day of the year. Right? I'm so grateful that this teacher is so lovely and has so much experience. Like, I just really anchored into gratitude. I'm so grateful I looked up and saw the sign for the yoga class. And then later I learned they used to be somewhere else in the city, but they had recently relocated. So there's no way I would have ever found it where it was. So I was like, I am so grateful the universe relocated this yoga studio so that I could. And so you want to really anchor into gratitude when you're in this place. And then you want to anchor into gratitude for yourself, like self-appreciation. Like, you want to look back and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that when the past came back, when those echoes from the past came back, I recognized what it was and I didn't get hooked back in. I stayed focused on my vision. I'm so grateful that when there was crickets, nothing was happening. Yes, I got impatient, but I kept coming back to trust that there's divine timing. I'm so grateful that I did that, right? So when you anchor into gratitude, then you anchor into that rebirth, okay? So those are the 3 phases. And it's really important. Let me just look at my notes to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes. So it's so important to know because, again, we are here in August. Now, I know you might be watching this in a different month, but I'm just going to trust that if you're guided to this episode 137, Crossing the Thresholds, then whatever month of the year, you're at a threshold. But here we are, 2025, August. I always feel this is such a sacred threshold time because we're still in the summer, but the summer's about to end, right? We can feel the autumn, the next season. I know if you're in the other hemisphere, it's a different season, but we're in that threshold. And this is the time to really recognize, oh my gosh, I'm in a sacred threshold. I'm in that moment. Maybe echoes from the past are coming. And again, they might not be so dramatic, like an ex-boyfriend coming or whatever, right? Or an ex-boss. It might just be like, oh my gosh, in the past, like neglecting your self-care. Like maybe that was something that you used to do, but now you're so much better at it. But suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, I'm eating all this food that isn't good for me. And I'm saying yes to all these invitations that I don't actually want to say yes to. Like, what is happening? And it's like, oh, it's echoes from the past. That's what's happening. And this is just helping me really refine, really anchor in, really commit, really show, no, I'm really focused on where I'm going. Right? Or maybe you recognize it's crickets, nothing's happening. I'm trying to get new clients. I'm trying to get new opportunities. And like all the doors keep closing. And I'm just getting this urge to like just get into frenzied activity. But you recognize, nope, this is actually the time for refinement. This is the stillness before the breakthrough. I know what's happening here. right? Or maybe you're across the other side and the amazing opportunities are coming, and then you recognize, I'm about to sabotage it. Some part of me feels not worthy, or some part of me feels like I won't be able to handle it, right? That was what was happening with me in the yoga studio. It was like, my body won't be able to do those things. Like, wait, no, maybe I should wait and just go, like, just do it at home. And it was like, no, 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 no. Like, I'm on the other side. My soul wouldn't have brought me this opportunity that felt so magical if I wasn't ready for it. And so I want to just end with this little practice. It's going to be so powerful for you. Before that, I want to share. I have a retreat this month. Oh, I really meant to write it down. August 21st, I believe it is. August 21st is a Thursday, 12 o'clock Central US time, 12 to 2. It's a virtual over Zoom. And this is all about this. But it's a retreat. So this is going to be this time for you to take the sacred pause. I will offer some journal prompts, some inner journeys. I'll do energy healing to really help you release the echoes from the past, whatever's been coming. Embrace the stillness of the moment and cross the threshold with more ease, grace, and power. So that come the autumn, the fall, or whatever season it is for you, you are feeling so aligned with your soul, and you step into that rebirth, that resurrection, that new identity with so much more sovereignty and power. I have not done a retreat in a few years. I used to do them all the time, and then my soul guided me to really focus on my teachings and creating my intellectual property and all of that. But now this is the time for that. I'm so excited. It's $44, and with your ticket, with your $44 entry ticket, you get a free guest pass. So yes, that means if you have a friend, a colleague, somebody that you're like, oh my gosh, they would so be blessed by this, you can gift them that. And it will be recorded. I would love for you to attend live, but it is recorded and you get the replay for 30 days, a whole month, right? So anyway, I'll put the link for that in the comments. You can always also, if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. I would love, love, love to connect. All right, so what is the practice? So this is what I want to end with. Is really important. We could do it together. Place your hands over your heart and ask your soul to show you, what phase of the sacred threshold am I in? Because remember, your soul wants you to know. Your soul's not trying to be vague on purpose, right? It's just like, ask, what phase am I in? And remember, when you ask your soul a question, your soul always answers, but maybe you won't hear the answer right away. But trust that the answer is in your heart, and it's going to be revealed at the right time. And so you're going to ask, what phase am I in? And then you're going to ask, what soul-aligned action step are you guiding me to take? And remember that action step could literally be take no action. Right now, just rest and enjoy the stillness. Or it might be, the action might be like, say no to that invitation, right? If you're in phase 1 of echoes from the past, your soul might be saying, the action is very lovingly set a boundary and say no. Or the action, if you're on the other side, the action might be like, make a list of gratitudes so you can anchor in this new identity and not sabotage it. And then embrace the phase you're in. This isn't about, oh, let me rush and get to the other side because the other side is going to be so much better. Because let me tell you something, especially if you're a helper, you're not just crossing one threshold. There's lots of them. More than likely, you are in phase 1 in one threshold, in phase 2 in the other, on the other side in the other threshold. And so you want to love, and I wrote this blog this week. If you didn't hear it, sign up for my newsletter. It was such an important one. It was like, really fall in love with your current version. That is the key to everything. So it's not about like, oh, this sucks when we're at the threshold. Let's get to the other side when it's better. No, all of it is a gift. All of it is sacred. all of it contains power. It's how do we navigate it, right? Because the problem that happens is when we're in those thought errors, we stay stuck unnecessarily, and then that becomes a problem. All right. So I really am so excited to connect with you. I am so excited for your thresholds because as you step through them, the world is healed. Right? That's why we cross them, right? We're stepping into more of ourselves. It's not even a new version, it's more of who you are. And again, the retreat is this August, the 21st, I believe. I'll put the details in the comments. I would love to see you. Remember, it comes with a free guest pass. And also, I've opened more sessions in August for my sovereignty consults. This is a free 1-hour consultation with me where I will help you really identify where you're at with the thresholds, what season you're in, where you're being guided. What are the obstacles that are actually in the way? I'll help you identify that, and I'll help you create a simple, now simple doesn't mean it won't take commitment, right? Simple plan of action to move forward. And if you're interested in hearing more, if I feel we're a good fit, I'll share the details of my coaching programs with you. All right. So the link for that will be in there as well. Okay. I want to pull 2 oracle cards and then we will be done. I feel like there was something else right there that I remembered that I was going to say and I can't remember what it is. Okay. So first, this is from the Inner Child Oracle. And I thought it would be really lovely to pull an inner child card because when we're at the threshold, especially some of the really tender ones, our inner child can really get triggered. So it's so important to love that inner child, which by the way, it's inner children. We have a lot of inner children parts inside of us. So I want to see what message does your inner child have for whatever phase you're in. Beautiful. Number 31. Seek guidance in this. It is time for a different perspective. Look at this beautiful man with the butterfly wings, that waterfall at the back there. So different perspective. So this is saying it might be seek out help, reach out to someone. It could even, it could be a person, it could be an author, it could be however this person comes to you, or it could be your soul to shift your perspective. Right? This is one of the challenges of being at a threshold is that we often label it as a problem. I'm going backwards. Things are going too slow. What's wrong with me? Why are all these things from the past coming back? Have I not learned my lesson? And so I really feel like your inner child is saying look at it from different eyes. Find a different, higher perspective. Okay, and now I'm just going to pull an animal card and then we'll be done. Spirit Animal Oracle, because animals bring so much medicine. I actually saw a hummingbird. Greg and I were looking out the window and there was a hummingbird in our patio and then it flew up. We were on the 2nd floor, flew up right in front of our window. It was just hovering in front of us. Oh my gosh. It's one of the things I'm so grateful. I see hummingbirds in Chicago, I think I saw them 3 times, but here I see them all the time. But hummingbird, the reason I share is hummingbird is all about joy and really taking in the nectar of life. So I'm sharing that with you, but let's see what else comes from these cards and then we'll be done. Oh my gosh, I love this. I've not seen this card before. Number 37, Lion Spirit. Be generous of spirit. Look at this beautiful lion. Be generous. Be generous with your energy. Be generous with your medicine. Be generous with your compassion to yourself, to others. Be generous with your experiences because wherever you are, this is what's coming actually. Wherever you are, even if you're in the part where nothing's happening, that is a gift to somebody out there. Remember, you're a helper. So somebody out there is waiting to be inspired by you. Your generosity will inspire them. And it might just be your generosity of sharing your experience. Look at this beautiful lion. I'm really struck by its 2 male energies here. So this is we have feminine and divine masculine. So look at that. Be generous of spirit. All right, everyone. This was a little bit of a longer one, but that's okay. I'm sending you so much love and I can't wait to connect with you next week or sooner in the Sovereignty Consult and at the retreat. I cannot wait to connect there. It's going to be amazing. All right. Bye, everyone.